Hello everyone, welcome to my channel DG Learning. I am Ranjita and I am going to give you the B.ed notes of semester 4, that is paper 10, creating an inclusive school. I have already given you the notes of unit 1, unit 2 of this paper. Okay, this is the final, this is the last unit, that is the unit 3, inclusive school. ठीक है, आफ्टर दिस हमारा सेमेस्टर 4 का एक ही लास्ट सब्जेक्ट बच जाएगा, दैट इज गाइडेंस एंड काउंसलिंग, जिसमें थ्योरी है जो हमें करना है, जिसकी नोट्स मैं आपको प्रोवाइड कर दूंगी. बट एक और है ऑप्शनल में, दैट इज टेलरिंग समथिंग, टेलरिंग एंड स्टिचिंग. तो वो तो आपके ये है, क्राफ्ट वर्क है, जो भी है दैट यू हैव टू डू, प्रैक्टिकल आपको करके दिखाना ही होगा. थ्योरी वाला एक और बच गया है, गाइडेंस एंड काउंसलिंग. उसकी भी नोट्स मैं आपको नेक्स्ट वीक तक प्रोवाइड कर ही दूंगी. आई एम वर्किंग ऑन इट. ठीक है. आई हैव ऑल्सो हर्ड दैट फ्रॉम द नेक्स्ट वीक यू हैविंग योर इंटरनल्स. सेमेस्टर 4 के स्टूडेंट्स, आपका इंटरनल्स चल रहा होगा, तो स्टार्ट होगा नेक्स्ट वीक से. ऑल द बेस्ट आप लोग को आपके इंटरनल्स के लिए. और उसके बाद फिर आपके एग्जाम्स मीन्स नेक्स्ट 15 डेज के आसपास में आप लोग के एग्जाम्स के भी डेट्स आ ही जाएंगे. ठीक है. ऑल द वेरी बेस्ट फॉर दैट. अच्छे से दीजिएगा एग्जाम. आई होप मेरा नोट्स आपको बहुत हेल्प कर रहा हो. और गाइडेंस एंड काउंसलिंग का मैं आपको एग्जाम से पहले आपको नोट्स प्रोवाइड कर दूंगी. आफ्टर कंप्लीटिंग द सेमेस्टर 4 देन विल बी कंटिन्यूइंग विद द सेमेस्टर 2. सेमेस्टर 2 का मैंने हाफ में छोड़ा था, एक ही पेपर मैंने स्टार्ट किया था और मैंने हाफ में छोड़ा था जस्ट बिकॉज ऑफ दिस. इसके बाद फिर मैं सेमेस्टर 2 कंटिन्यू करूँगी. ठीक है. ऑल द बेस्ट टू द स्टूडेंट्स ऑफ सेमेस्टर 4. अच्छे से एग्जाम दीजिएगा, अच्छे परसेंटेज लाइएगा. और फिलहाल तो हम लोग विदाउट वेस्टिंग एनी टाइम हम लोग स्टार्ट करते हैं पेपर 10, दैट इज क्रिएटिंग एन इंक्लूसिव स्कूल का यूनिट 3, दैट इज इंक्लूसिव स्कूल. ठीक है. आवर फर्स्ट टॉपिक इज बैरियर्स फॉर इंक्लूजन इन स्कूल. सो लेट अस स्टार्ट. आवर फर्स्ट पॉइंट इज द इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बैरियर्स. बहुत सारे बैरियर्स आते हैं इंक्लूजन इन स्कूल के ऊपर, मतलब काफ़ी सारे प्रॉब्लम्स आते हैं. तो अब हम लोग उन सबको डिस्कस करते हैं. पहला है इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बैरियर्स. इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर इज द बैकबोन ऑफ एनी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. Education infrastructure includes suitable spaces to learn. This is one of the most basic elements necessary to ensure access to education. School classrooms are the most common place in which structured learning takes place with a group of children. When children with disability faces difficulties in accessing the school's building themselves, either due to the problem in mobility or due to complex structure of school building, it is called as the infrastructure barriers. Like unit 2 में हमने डिस्कस किया था कि सपोज फर्स्ट फ्लोर या सेकंड फ्लोर पे अगर किसी का क्लासरूम है तो व्हील चेयर से कोई स्टूडेंट फर्स्ट फ्लोर सेकंड फ्लोर तक नहीं जा सकता है ना. ठीक है. सो जो डिसेबल चिल्ड्रन होते हैं उनको काफ़ी प्रॉब्लम्स होते हैं. ठीक है. Some are lack of lift facility, improper length and width of the classroom, inadequate furniture, separate toilets for boys and girls, separate and special arrangement of toilets for physically disabled children, lack of compatible indoor and outdoor sports areas. ठीक है. तो ये हो गया हमारा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बैरियर. नेक्स्ट कम्स टू द रिसोर्स एज अ बैरियर. A stock or supply of money or material is called a resource. Some are lack of male and female attendance for boys and girls, lack of housekeeping staffs to ensure cleanliness and hygiene, untrained teachers, inadequate funding, lack of wheelchair and walker, lack of transportation facility, their mobility aids, unavailability of hearing devices, lack of braille typewriters, lack of medical equipments. ये सारे रिसोर्सेज की तो होती ही हैं, लैक ऑफ ऑल दीज रिसोर्सेज. बट इनमें लाइक हियर वी हैव सीन अनट्रेन टीचर्स. अनट्रेन टीचर्स में कौन, इवन हम भी अनट्रेन टीचर्स में आएंगे इफ़ वी आर इन दैट केस. मतलब अगर हमें कुछ स्टूडेंट्स दैट इज़ द स्पेशल चिल्ड्रन को अगर बोल दिया जाए कि ये स्पेशल चाइल्ड है, यू हैव टू टीच देम, वी डोंट नो द एक्चुअल वे टू टीच देम. उन्हें कैसे समझाएंगे तो किस तरह से उन्हें समझ में आएगा. फॉर एग्जाम्पल इफ दे आर ब्लाइंड और दे कैन नॉट हियर, तो इन दैट केस इफ दे कैन नॉट हियर, तो इन दैट केस हाउ वी आर गोइंग टू एक्सप्लेन देम समथिंग. ठीक है. हेयरिंग डिवाइसेस वगैरह ये सब चीज़ तो होने चाहिए ही. साथ में टीचर्स जो होने चाहिए वो प्रॉपरली ट्रेंड होने चाहिए कि एनी काइंड ऑफ चिल्ड्रन, लाइक चिल्ड्रन विद स्पेशल नीड्स, एनी काइंड उस टाइप के सारे ही बच्चों को वो आराम से हैंडल कर लें. ठीक है. Next comes to psychosocial barriers. Psychosocial means the relationship between the psychological and social aspects of our life, with each continually influencing and interacting with other. The psychological aspect means interpersonal components which are the cognitive, emotional and spiritual aspects of our life. The social aspect means interpersonal relationship with family, community, and friends, as well as the broader social environment such as the culture, tradition, religion, socio-economic, and social political environment. Therefore, the close connection between psychological aspects of our experience, such as our thought and emotions, and our wider social experience like our relationship and traditions. Following are the psychosocial barriers for inclusion in school. First is the lack of emotional and social support. The lack of adequate emotional and social support may emanate from negative attitudes or negligence as well as misinterpretation of what children with disabilities need. ठीक है. Next is social isolation. Sometimes people's behavior and psychological beliefs of the disabled children facilitates the isolation of children with disabilities, which lead to increased levels of stress and lower self-esteem. Next is the physical access. Sometimes, due to lack of social support, they cannot access the physical facilities. Okay? Next is the attitudinal barrier. Many people have negative approach towards the disabled children. They think that persons with disabilities lack the skills needed to live in the community or to be educated with non-disabled children. This leads to inferiority complex in children with disabilities. Next is physical and emotional bullying. Physical and emotional bullying by the peers group is a serious barrier to learning and can lead to isolation and closure of possible inclusion. ठीक है, ये तो नॉर्मल सा चीज़ है. नेक्स्ट इज होल क्लास बेस्ड इंस्ट्रक्शन एज अ बैरियर. टीचर डेवलप अ लेसन टू एंगेज ऑल द स्टूडेंट्स इन अ क्लास. A teacher present his lesson in such a way that majority of the class grasp the information that is being presented. Limited student interactions with the content, possibility of the listening skills deficiency. Fully depend on the efficiency of teachers' lecture skill. Difficult to keep students focused on the topic. Difficult to guarantee full students' participation. Some students dominates the discussion process. ठीक है, तो ये हो गया हमारा barriers. Okay, what are the barriers that the students have to face? ठीक है. Next is the inclusive school. Inclusive school पे हम लोग आते हैं. Inclusive school. The word inclusion means an all-embracing societal ideology, regardless of any kind of abilities, disabilities, and any other kind of circumstances. Inclusion is a way of life, a way of living together that is based on a belief that each individual is valued and belongs. And when these beliefs are fully adapted in a school, then it becomes an inclusive school. Another word for inclusive school means a school for everyone. हर तरह के बच्चे वहाँ जाके पढ़ सकते हैं, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. ठीक है. Inclusive schools are different from normal schools. However, the syllabus and curriculum of inclusive school is similar to that of normal school. But there is one thing that distinguishes the inclusive school from normal school, and that thing is inclusion of different type of children. Under this, children with special needs adopt a general school curriculum. They studied or learn the same curriculum whether they are physically or mentally handicapped or are marginalized for any reason. ठीक है. Now comes to the concept. The basic principle of inclusive school is that all children should learn together. Inclusive school should recognize and improve their students' specific needs as far as possible, regardless of any disability of differences. The concept of inclusive school was the first globally introduced in the Salamanca Statement held in the World Conference on Special Needs Education 1994. According to the Salamanca statement, the fundamental principle of the inclusive school is that all children should have learned together wherever possible, regardless of any disability or differences they may have. Inclusive school must recognize and respond to the diverse needs of their students, accommodating both different styles and rates of learning and ensuring quality education to all through appropriate curriculum, organizational arrangement, teaching strategies, resources use, and partnership with their communities. This was the concept, and now comes to the objectives of an inclusive school. Offer a quality education while respecting the diversity, the needs, and the abilities of each student. Maximize the intellectual, physical, and social intelligence of everyone. Assure a climate of non discrimination to promote the values of diversity, acceptance, and belonging. To provide school-wide support system to meet the needs of all students, to ensure the availability of normal and natural support within the general education setting. This was the objective, and now comes to the dimensions of inclusive school. The educational setting in which students with disabilities have opportunities to learn and spend time with their peers who do not have disabilities is called inclusive setting, and the premises which adopt these settings is called inclusive school. In other words, we can say that a school which assures the climate of non-discrimination and offers a quality education to each and every child and maximize the intellectual, physical, and social intelligence of everyone is called inclusive school. Physical layout of the school. Since inclusive school starts from the premises, therefore, building a suitable structure is the most important dimension of inclusive school. The primary consideration of an inclusive school should be its access to all children. Ramps are important for enhancing access to the children with general mobility disabilities. Doors must be wide enough to let the wheelchair in. Wide classroom, lift facility, and availability of resources. Okay, now comes to the government and community support. Government and community support. Since government takes the decision of establishing inclusive school, therefore it is the responsibility of government to make appropriate arrangement for the establishment of an inclusive school. Also, community at local level should work on these things. The policy should not only made but implement in such a way that all students can feel culturally safe and each and every students are valued. Okay, now comes to the curriculum and teaching methods. Curriculum and teaching methods should be adopted according to the need and convenience of each and every child. In an inclusive school, the teacher and school use inclusive curriculum that enables students to meet their learning goals in the context of the regular curriculum. This is underpinned by state and national curriculum framework that addressing the learning needs of all students. Positive attitudes of all the stakeholders like students, educators, administrators, support staff, and parents. The most important psychological dimension of inclusive school is the positive attitude of all the stakeholders like parents, teachers, staff, and children. In an inclusive school, principal as well as all the stakeholders and leaders who support inclusive education must be trained enough and also have welcoming as well as adapting attitudes towards the children. Then only environmental dimension of inclusive school will be fully prepared. Okay, availability of learning supports. All the human as well as materialistic resources helps in completing the last dimension of inclusive setup. Human resource refers to trained teachers and staff as well as physiotherapists, whereas learning resources are learning aids for disabled children, modified textbook, assistive technology, etc. Next comes to definition of inclusive school. Inclusive education means all children in the same classroom in the same school. It means real learning opportunities for groups who have traditionally been excluded, not only children with disabilities but speakers of minority languages too. Index of Inclusion. Index of Inclusion introduced by the Tony Booth and Mel Anscore is in an article breaking down the barriers, the Index for Inclusion. It was the first printed in Education Journal in March 2000 and have four editions also published and translated in 50 languages. Index for Inclusion describes the developing learning and participation in schools, in which he states that there are some values that can be named as inclusive values and with time these could be forgotten, so Index of Inclusion provide a framework. Schools can stick to that framework for better inclusion. The index of for inclusion are organized around three dimensions. First is culture, means creating cultures, policy, making policy, and practice, evolving inclusive practices. Okay. First is the culture. This provides manual and discusses the index process as an approach for inclusion. This also emphasizes what school can achieve by using index of inclusion. Next is indicators of culture for building community. Everyone must be welcomed, cooperation among students and staff, respect, empathy, sympathy among staff and students, partnership between parents and staff, and role of local communities. Now, policies. This have 5 phases of index process. Starting the index process, finding out about the school, producing an inclusive school, implementation the plan, and reviewing the index process. Okay, now comes to the indicators of policies. Developing the school for all. No partiality in appointments and promotions of staff. Should provide admission to all the students from locality. No student should be left out. Infrastructure of school and institute should be accessible for all. Should provide proper induction to all students for easy adjustment process and teaching learning programs for students so everyone have the feeling or values. Next is the indicators of policies. Organizing support for diversity. Support system should be coordinated, staff to respond as per the student diversity, special educational needs policies, reducing the barriers in teaching, learning, and participation for all the students. Disciplinary actions should be decreased, attendance should be enhanced, bullying should be taken care. Okay, next is the practice. This is the last topic or last point of this unit. The practice. This explains the hierarchical index system that involves 3 dimensions of inclusive schools and also have indicators to check if goals are completed or not. There is also a fourth part that provides addition information and evaluates the whole process of inclusion program. Indicators of practice. Orchestrating learning. Teachers should encourage all the students to participate in learning process inside and outside the schools. Lessons creates a sense of understanding the individual differences. Students construct their own knowledge and learn in their own way. Students do collaborate learning. Mutual respect is important for the classroom discipline. Is important. Is okay. Next is teachers also learn with the students. Indicators of practice, that is mobilizing resources. Expertise is used to the fullest potential. School resources are used to enhance learning. Staff develop resources to support learning and participation. Community resources should be used. This is the fourth point. Community resources should be used, and school resources should be distributed without biasness to support inclusion. This was the last point of this unit. Here this unit gets over. ठीक है, आई होप दिस वीडियो विल बी हेल्पफुल फॉर यू. जो भी नोट्स मैंने दिया है ये आप लोग के लिए हेल्पफुल हो, आप लोगों का एग्जाम में काम है, एंड यू वुड गेट गुड मार्क्स. ऑल द वेरी बेस्ट फॉर योर एग्जाम. ठीक है. One more thing, if you like this video and if this video is helpful for you, then please like this video and subscribe my channel. Okay, next मैं फिर आऊँगी नेक्स्ट वीक आप लोग के लिए दैट गाइडेंस एंड काउंसलिंग वाले टॉपिक पे. दैट गाइडेंस एंड काउंसलिंग वाला पेपर मुझे एग्जाम के पहले कंप्लीट करवाना है. ठीक है, फोर्थ सेमेस्टर के पहले मैं कंप्लीट करवा दूंगी आपके एग्जाम से पहले. मैं देख ही रही हूँ कब कब एग्जाम है. मुझे पता चला है कि नेक्स्ट वीक से आप लोगों का इंटरनल स्टार्ट हो रहा है. ठीक है, ऑल द वेरी बेस्ट फॉर योर एग्जाम्स एंड थैंक यू फॉर वॉचिंग.